Welcome back to Haunted Stories. If you're a fan of spine-tingling mysteries and ghostly encounters, you're in for a treat. Make sure to tap that subscribe button and give that like button a solid smash to show your support for my free and daily content. So, huddle up, turn off the lights, and get ready to immerse yourself in the enigmatic world of eerie tales. Let's not waste any more time. Let's jump into today's bone-chilling video. First story, Whispering Shadows. Nina had always cherished her solitude, finding solace in the tranquility of the woods that surrounded her cabin. The isolation was peaceful, until one night, when a soft, eerie whisper trickled through the cracks of her window. She brushed it off as the wind playing tricks on her mind, but as the nights went on, the whispers grew louder, more distinct, and unsettlingly personal. At first, Nina tried to rationalize the phenomenon, blaming it on the echoes of her own thoughts. But the whispers evolved into eerie messages that seemed to know her deepest secrets, her fears, her insecurities. Each night, the voice seemed to come closer, creeping inside her mind. The once serene forest now felt like a cage, and the darkness seemed to hold unseen eyes. One night, courage bolstered by desperation, Nina decided to confront her tormentor. Armed with a flashlight and a shaky resolve, she ventured outside, scanning the surroundings. The whisper grew more insistent, leading her deeper into the woods. Her flashlight revealed fleeting shadows, figures that danced just beyond the edge of the light. Fear clawed at her, but she pressed on. The whispers seemed to be coming from all around her, a symphony of dread that consumed her senses. Suddenly, the trees parted, revealing a dilapidated cabin bathed in an otherworldly glow. The whispers crescendoed into a cacophony of sinister laughter, and Nina's heart pounded in her chest. She stepped forward, and the door creaked open, revealing the source of the haunting voice. In the dim light, a figure emerged, a specter, half-formed, whose eyes gleamed with an unholy hunger. The stalker's whispered messages took on a chilling clarity as it spoke to her directly. It knew things that only her innermost thoughts held, and its intentions became terrifyingly clear. With every step the specter took, the temperature plummeted, and the air grew thick with malice. Paralyzed with fear, Nina watched as the stalker reached out, its translucent fingers inches from her face. But just as it seemed her fate was sealed, the first light of dawn broke through the trees, causing the specter to hiss and recoil. As the morning sun bathed the world in light, the stalker dissolved into nothingness, leaving only an eerie silence in its wake. Nina never spoke of that night to anyone, fearful of the skepticism and judgment she might face. But the experience left an indelible mark on her, a reminder that even in the safety of her solitude, there could be unseen terrors that lurked in the shadows, waiting for the perfect moment to strike. Second story, Midnight Pursuit. Alex had always been a night owl, and his late-night shifts at the office were routine by now. One chilly evening, as he walked home through the empty streets, a feeling of unease began to gnaw at him. He quickened his pace, his footsteps echoing off the buildings. But each time he stole a glance over his shoulder, he caught a glimpse of a shadowy figure, seemingly just out of sight. Brushing off his paranoia, Alex turned a corner, only to find the figure right behind him. Panic surged through his veins as he broke into a sprint. The sound of his own breath and pounding heart filled the air, drowning out the distant hum of the city. He darted through alleyways, down dimly lit streets, but the relentless pursuit continued. As Alex ran, his mind raced to find an explanation. Who could be chasing him like this? He knew he had no enemies, no reason for someone to stalk him. The figure was cloaked in darkness, its features obscured, making it impossible to determine whether it was human or something else entirely. Despite his best efforts, the stalker remained just a step behind, an ominous presence that seemed to thrive on his fear. Alex's legs burned, his lungs ached, and the line between reality and nightmare blurred. He felt like a mouse in a labyrinth, and the stalker was the predator determined to catch him. Finally, Alex burst into a seemingly abandoned warehouse, desperate to catch his breath and evade his pursuer. The warehouse was shrouded in darkness, with only the feeble light of the moon seeping through the windows. But as he stood there, gasping for air, he realized that he was not alone. The figure materialized from the shadows, its eyes gleaming with an otherworldly light. A chill ran down Alex's spine as he finally saw the stalker's face, or lack thereof. Its skin was a mottled canvas of decay, and its eyes were hollow sockets that seemed to pierce his very soul. The stalker's voice echoed in his mind, whispering fragmented memories and forgotten traumas. And then, in a moment of horrifying clarity, Alex recognized the figure. It was the embodiment of a long-repressed memory, a past he had buried deep within himself. The stalker was a manifestation of guilt and regret, a relentless force determined to make him confront the secrets he had tried to forget. As the truth dawned on him, the stalker lunged forward, its skeletal fingers reaching for his throat. But just as it was about to make contact, the first rays of dawn broke through the warehouse windows. The stalker recoiled, hissing in pain, and with a final desperate scream, it dissolved into nothingness. As the light flooded the room, Alex collapsed to the ground, his body shaking with the weight of what he had faced. He emerged from that night forever changed, haunted not by an external presence but by the demons he had carried within himself. The pursuit might have ended, but the real challenge had just begun, confronting the darkness he had tried so hard to escape. Third story, Echoes of Obsession. Amelia had always found solace in her writing, and her cozy apartment served as the perfect haven for her creative endeavors. But one evening, as she sat hunched over her desk, lost in the world of her debut novel, a faint rustling drew her attention. A single red rose lay on her doorstep, accompanied by an anonymous note. "For the muse who inspires me." Initially, Amelia dismissed it as an odd but harmless gesture. She continued to immerse herself in her writing, believing it to be a mere coincidence. Yet, the notes grew more frequent, each one more intimate than the last. The messages began to reference details from her life, her work, and even her thoughts, details she had never shared with anyone. The notes soon escalated from admiring to sinister, veiled threats that hinted at a possessive obsession. Her sanctuary became tainted by an invisible presence that seemed to invade her very thoughts. The lines between her novel's antagonist and her own stalker began to blur, and paranoia gripped her heart. Late one night, as Amelia sat in her dimly lit apartment, the stalker's presence became almost palpable. She could feel their gaze on her, a weighty anticipation that made her skin crawl. Panic set in, and she called the police, but by the time they arrived, there was no sign of the stalker. They assured her that they would increase patrols in the area, but the unease remained. The situation escalated further when a chilling note arrived, detailing her exact movements throughout the day. The stalker seemed to know her every move, her every thought, and the boundary between fiction and reality was irrevocably shattered. In a desperate bid for safety, Amelia fled to a friend's house, hoping that distance would finally sever the connection. But the stalker's reach seemed limitless. Even in her friend's home, she found notes hidden within her belongings. The walls felt like they were closing in, and Amelia realized that the only way to break free from this torment was to confront her stalker head-on. Armed with a mixture of fear and determination, she returned to her apartment, determined to unmask her pursuer. As the night grew darker, the stalker's presence seemed to swell around her. Amelia set a trap, leaving a note that detailed her planned escape, intending to catch the stalker in their own web. Heart pounding, she hid in a closet, waiting in the darkness for the inevitable confrontation. Hours passed, and just when she began to doubt her plan, the apartment door creaked open. Footsteps echoed through the silence, and Amelia's breath caught in her throat. The stalker's voice rang out, a haunting whisper that reverberated through the room. But this time, Amelia was ready. She burst from the closet, a scream escaping her lips, only to find herself face to face with an empty room. The stalker's voice echoed in her mind one last time, and then, the apartment fell silent. In the days that followed, Amelia scoured every corner of her home, desperate for answers, but the stalker had vanished without a trace. As time passed, the memories of that night began to blur, leaving Amelia uncertain if it had all been a nightmare. Despite the absence of tangible evidence, the experience left her forever changed. The boundaries between reality and fiction had disintegrated, and Amelia knew that the true horror lay not in the stalker's physical presence, but in the shadows of her own mind. Thank you for sticking with us through the whole video. Remember, your support means the world to me. If you haven't already, don't forget to subscribe and give that like button a resounding hit. This helps me bring you more free and thrilling content every day. If this video sent shivers down your spine, let me know in the comments. Stay tuned for more hair-raising stories. Until next time.